IAC in Sydney that is coming up very fast, a great success. I'm very happy to have here with me several experts who will be sharing their thoughts and their experience with you. First of all, Dr. Annie Handmer. She is the IPC co-chair for the IAC in Sydney, and Professor Arif Karabeoglu, who is also IPC co-chair for Sydney as well as for next year when we go to Turkey. And we also have Mr. Isaac Bedolski, who will share his experience about the IP, the interactive presentations. My name is Tanja Masson-Zwaan, and I am the IAF Vice President for Technical Activities. So let's kick it off and see what we can share with you to make your presentation a great success. Can we have the next slide? So first of all, here is a little bit of the agenda, what we would like to discuss with you. Today we will go through the schedule of the IAC, as many of you may know it, and some of you may be first-comers. So just to share how an IAC, an International Astronomical Congress, typically looks like, we will share two different roadmaps with you, one for the technical sessions and one for the IP. We will talk about the presentation format, how to be engaging, how to be confident, do's and don'ts, tips and tricks, and some last tips as well. And of course, we will also have an opportunity for you to ask us questions at the end. So please prepare them or write them in the chat, and our colleagues at the IAF in Paris will share them with us. Can we have the next slide? And then I'm going to hand it over to Annie to share with us the what a typical IAC and the one in Sydney will look like. Annie.
Thank you so much, Tanja. I am so excited to share with you IAC 2025 at a glance. We've been working very hard in Sydney on making this a great success and ensuring that there is time for everybody to share their presentations, to network, to socialize, and to hear from the best minds in the space sector. So on the Monday, we start with the VIP gathering, and then for most of us, we'll go to the opening ceremony and then the opening exhibition. And then we're straight into the first IP session before the plenary. You can see throughout the week, and I won't go through every day, but just using that first day as an example, we have IP sessions, we have technical sessions, we have special sessions, and we have the plenaries dotted throughout the week. So if you're attending and you're presenting, that gives you time to both present your paper and also go and watch other people present and attend all of the plenaries, the highlight lectures, the social events in the evenings, and don't forget the gala dinner at the end, which I have it on good authority will be absolutely fantastic. Thanks, Tanja.
Thank you, Annie. And maybe we can have the next slide, which will show you some first steps. We're going to take this, we're going to break this down for you. So first of all, once you get to preparing your presentation, you have written your paper and you're going to prepare your PowerPoint or Prezi or whatever format you use, we would like to encourage you to look at and to analyze your audience. You know, who is in the room, what kind of people, do they know what I'm talking about? Should I take it to a lower level first to build it up, or are they all experts, or is it a mix? So do that audience analysis so that you know who you have in front of you. Define your objectives. What do you want to share with your audience? You know, I'm sure that all of you have lots to share, but it would be smart to pick maybe one or two salient points from your presentation and your research that you really would like to share. You will see that the time pressure is high. You have only 10-12 minutes to present your paper, so don't try to fit everything in there, but pick your objectives. What do I want to share? Then structure your content, and that means also making an introduction and a conclusion. Those should always be in your presentation. So make a clear stepwise approach culminating in the final message that you would like to give your audience. Use images. You know, PowerPoint should not be too full of text and death by PowerPoint, as we sometimes call it. Use some images. These can be photos or even cartoons or what have you, to make it livable, to make it visible for your audience. Time management, as I said, the time pressure is great. The time you have is really short. So make sure that you, and we will come back to this in later slides here, practice also so that you know how much time you spend on each slide. Prepare also perhaps some questions. Think of what kind of questions might come up in your audience, because you should leave some time at the end of your allotted time so that the chairs can give you the opportunity to answer one or two questions. And then last but not least, also use the opportunity to do your networking. So as we will say in the following, we will encourage you to come a bit early, maybe hang on a little bit after the session. These are the people that are interested in your research, and so use that opportunity to meet with them, to speak with them, and to build your network. We're going to the following slide where I think it's Annie again will run you through these roadmaps that I said. We have two different ones. So Annie, can you please explain those to the audience?
Absolutely. So there are two roadmaps. If you're doing an interactive presentation or an oral presentation, you need to pay attention to which one applies to you. So this one is for the oral presentations. Now, on the 6th of June, you have confirmed your attendance. And if you've not done that, then you're in trouble. So, because between the 9th and the 15th of June, our backup authors were notified for the sessions. So do check that if you didn't confirm your attendance. Okay, coming up next, 30th of June, early bird registration will close. And I know in previous years, some hosts have extended early bird registration. I can tell you that for Sydney IAC, we will not extend early bird registration. 30th of June is the deadline, and after that, the price will increase. So please keep that in mind. Okay, then we're giving you a webinar now, which you're experiencing, which is good. On the 11th, sorry, people are trying to message me. On the 11th of July, you'll have your lightning talk submission. This is optional. You do not have to submit a lightning talk, but it can help attract people to come and watch your presentation at IAC. So, especially if you're coming to IAC because you want to engage with the academic community and you want people to see your research and understand it, do consider doing this. 5th of September, your registration of presenting authors must be complete. This is obligatory. You have to register anyone who is presenting by this date at the latest. The 12th of September, you must submit your paper. So it's not enough just to turn up with your slides and some dot points. You have to submit a full paper, because that paper is then going to be available online after the conference. So make sure it's good. Um, I have personal experience in rushing my way to the end here and regretting it. So don't do that. Make sure it's good. 20th of September, you will need to submit your presentation. So this is your slides if you're using slides. You need to make sure that you've done that by that date to make sure that it gets to the room. There is an option that on site, if you cannot submit it online, that you can bring a USB, or you can come and use other methods to put it in the speaker preparation room at IAC. But take it from me, you want to have done this in advance so you're not stressed. And then 29th of September to the 3rd of October is the delightful IAC 2025. So if we have the next slide. Okay, this is your roadmap for your interactive presentation. And it's mostly the same, but slightly different. So again, you can submit a lightning talk. Again, you need to register your presenting authors by no later than the 5th of September. If you don't do this, then there'll be no one there registered to present. So you can't present your paper. So you need to do this. Now, what is different is the following dates. So the 18th of September, you must submit your interactive presentation, and then it is eligible for the IP competition, which is pretty exciting. There are prizes involved. So do make sure you read up on how to make a great IP so you're eligible for that. On the 12th of September, you have to submit your paper. Sometimes people get confused. They think, oh, if it's an IP, I don't need to have a full paper. You do. Your paper is published online afterwards. You must submit a paper. And like I said, you should make sure it's good because it's there for the rest of your life under your name. Okay, 20th of September. we have the publication of the IPs, and then we obviously go into IAC 2025. So please make sure that you pay attention to the roadmap for your specific presentation type. And if you have multiple presentations across both, pay close attention and don't miss your deadlines. Next slide, please, and I'll hand back.
Thank you so much, Annie, for explaining that. And I just wanted to underline also for, the fact that a technical session paper and an IP are really of equal value. And you see that also in those roadmaps that Annie just presented. You get time, you will write a paper, the paper will be included in the online proceedings. So really it is of high value to the IAC, and we see an increase in people who actually prefer IP because you can present your paper at your leisure. And as I said at the beginning, Isaac will give some further information on that at the end. But just to underline the equal value of technical paper and IP. We're going to go to Arif, please. If you would please tell us something more about the technical sessions and the presentations that take place in the framework of those 2.5 hour technical sessions, some 200 of them. Arif, please.
Hi there. Hello to everyone all around the world. I guess this is morning for me, good morning for me, but hello everyone. Yes, I have done this a few times. I gave presentations at IAC and also worked as a chairman multiple times. So this is quite important. I have a few tips here and also additional ones from my own experience as well. Typically, the durations are very short with these IAC presentations. We're talking about 10 to 15 minutes. The average is about 12 minutes. And we're very strict with this timeline because we don't want to have overruns. So that is very important that you follow that. And then since the time is very short, you need to have a very good plan with your presentation and make sure that you deliver the right message within this very limited time. The chair people, we have chairperson and rapporteurs. We typically have 2 to 4 people essentially running the show there. And you essentially, follow their introduction, do your presentation. After your presentation, there's typically a limited amount of time for questions, which is a really, really good time, the most important and fun time for any presenter, in my opinion. And then you should definitely go to your session at least 10 minutes, but I recommend a little bit more than 10 minutes. Make sure that you meet your chairman. Very important to have introduced. They're going to introduce you, make sure that they have all the information, make sure that everything is going to go flawlessly, make sure that you understand the setting of the room, get a feel for it. So that kind of reduces your stress level when you get there a little early. If you're rushing the last minute, like I did a few times in the past, that is always a problem. Okay. Presentations must be essentially uploaded through the IAF website. This is quite important. And then there are speaker rooms in the conference halls typically, and use those speaker preparation rooms actually to do some dry runs. This is quite important, especially if you don't have a lot of experience presenting. This is a really useful setting for you to present in a very similar environment. So I recommend that you do that. And then the presentations are typically very tightly timed, and there's a timer. That's a very large timer right in front of you. You'll be able to see how much time you're going to have left. Make sure that you follow that very closely and don't rush it towards the end. Make sure that you have enough time to deliver the important messages, which typically comes toward the end of the presentation. If you just run out of time and then rush through the end very fast, your message is not delivered. Make sure you do the timing very, very precisely. You have to submit a PowerPoint and a full paper. This is very important. No show, no paper policy. This is very, very important. You really need to have to show up for your paper to be published and get the credit for it. This is quite important. There's actually a website that is essentially advertised here. Make sure that you follow this website. There's a lot of information. The deadlines are very detailed in a detailed fashion explained by Annie, but you'll find all that information also at the website. That's all I have on this slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arif, and I'm going to stay with you also to explain a bit the structure of the technical sessions in this next slide. Could you do that, please?
Absolutely. I've been actually going to the IAC meetings for the last 15 years or so. And the format is the same, very amazingly. This is very important for a person going to the IAC every single time, every year. Having seen the same thing, the old friendly, the schedule is very important. So make sure you understand this. There are a lot of papers, there are a lot of important and useful papers, and they're very well organized. They're organized under 5 different symposia, and so category A, B, and C. Mine is technology C area. I do my presentations and typically work in the C area, but the other areas I always go and visit and essentially get a lot of useful information. So what I recommend here is essentially there are obviously a lot of parallel sessions, right? And IAF is actually trying to limit the overlap between the essentially among the relevant or close areas. So that's what they're trying to do. But this is a very, very loaded, symposium, as you can see. So make sure that you essentially, what's going on. When you're going to present, obviously, you have to find your session, let's say C43 as an example. Make sure that you understand when the room is. Don't leave it to the last second for the room because these conference halls are very big. So spot your room and then go to your essentially room beforehand. Make sure you're familiar with that. And then that is pretty much what it is.
Thank you, Arif. And just to add to that, as you will see on the left, you see the room numbers, and they all start with C4, C3, and so on. So do not confuse that with the sessions of category C technology. So you could have session C45, which takes place in room C38, for example. So be aware of this, and I'm sure that Annie will make sure that there's enough signs everywhere so that nobody gets lost. But this can be a bit confusing, so keep an eye on that.
Yeah, one thing
The
I'm
next,
going
oh, sorry, Arif, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to reinforce this one last time because that happened to me a few times. Make sure that you navigate yourself. You understand where you're going to be presenting. Give yourself enough time, get to the room, because that happens to our speakers all the time. They're like, you don't want that. Get there early. The day before, go and look for your room. Make sure you understand it. The other last thing I'm going to say, I forgot to mention that all the relevant topics are actually done in the same room. That is a very important virtue of the IAC conferences. You don't find this in other conferences, but here everything is done in the same room within the same, let's say C4, they're all in the same room. Once you find the room, you can just go to the same room. Sorry.
No, very useful information. Thank you so much. And by the way, also on the at the entrance of the rooms, you will find the program, the sequence of the papers listed as well. Of course, it can happen that there is a no-show, so do not count on that 100%, but it gives you also an idea of the sequence of the presentations. Next, we're going to go to Annie again and to ask you please to explain the same story, but now for the IPs, for the interactive presentations. Go ahead, Annie.
Absolutely. So Arif did a really great summary, and everything that Arif said applies to the IP sessions. The same rules. So you must arrive 10 minutes before your session. Now, crucially, that's not 10 minutes before you are scheduled to talk. It's 10 minutes before your session. So make sure you arrive in time so that you can meet with your session chairs and your fellow presenters. The other thing to keep in mind is that your 10 minutes includes your Q&A segment. So do make sure that you keep your timing tight. And my best advice to you is to practice your presentation. I think sometimes the feedback I've heard from people who've done IP presentations is that it can be very stressful because you've got people crowded around you. And so if you are nervous about public speaking, it's a different environment to what you might be used to, where you have a lectern to protect you from your audience. In an IP, there's nothing to protect you. So make sure you practice so that you're confident in that environment. The other thing I would say is that the IP award ceremony is on Thursday, the 2nd of October at 1 o'clock. Don't miss it, because if you get an award, it will be very awkward if you're not there to receive it. So make sure you're there. Now, like with the other sessions, you must submit a complete paper and you must publish your interactive presentation by the 10th of September. There is the policy of no show, no paper, no paper, no show. So if you don't submit a paper, you don't get to present. If you don't turn up, you don't get to say that you presented a paper. It's just common sense, but we need to make sure you understand it applies to the IPs as well as to the oral presentations. And if you've got any more questions, you can email that email address at the bottom of the slide.
Thank you, Annie. And also, you mentioned already that exciting award ceremony, and that is a big advantage of actually doing an interactive presentation, because you can get to win prizes. Who would have thought that? If you go to a conference, you can actually win Best Paper Award. Annie, do you want to explain how this works, please?
Yes, I would love to. This is my favorite bit of IAC every year, is the IP award ceremony, because everyone gets so excited. So there are 5 different categories of presentations, and there is 1 award per category. Now, to be considered for the category, it doesn't necessarily have to be, the best research or whatever. What the award is based on is the best presentation. So the best use of the IP software to create the most engaging presentation. And that is what it is really judged on. And what it encourages you to do is to be really creative with the format. I think sometimes people think of the IP as just, oh, I'll just upload my slides and that's it. And you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you'd like to be considered as part of the competition, think about how you can use the tools that are in the software to create something that's really special, really engaging, and uses the format to go beyond what you could have done as an oral presentation. And if you do that, then you'll be in a very good position to be considered for an award. So yeah, just keep that in mind, and consider that this is an opportunity to really show the judges what you can do.
Wonderful, wonderful tips. Thank you, Annie. We're going to go even a bit deeper in the detail now, and I'd like to share some more specific tips again about the oral presentations. I have been coming, like my colleagues here, to the IAF for many years, and I've seen very good ones and very bad ones. And really, these are some tips that summarize what really makes your presentation stand out, whether it's an IP or a technical session paper. Sometimes you see people coming with 50 slides for 10 minutes. Don't do that. You will not be able to go through all of that. Keep it simple. So count generally 1 minute per slide. So if you have 10 or 15 minutes, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 12, that has been allocated by the chairs of your session, have a maximum of 8, 9, 10 slides with content, and remember that you have to keep some time for your questions. So keep that as a guideline. Do not try to put everything on those 9 or 10 slides, but put your let's say your guidance, and you use the PowerPoint to guide your talk. You do not, of course, read the PowerPoint. People can read that on their own. It should help you to pass the message to your audience. So 1 minute per slide, that's an excellent tip. For IPs, of course, Isaac, as I said, will present some more details in a minute. And we also recommend that you make a script, so you can actually practice your PowerPoint in front of the mirror, or even record yourself on your computer and see how that works with the timing, so that you know what message to pass, but also how you structure your presentation, so that you don't give away what you're going to discuss on the next slide, and so that you know yourself also the sequence of your content. Keep the opening simple is the next one, and professional, and share an agenda like I did at the beginning. Then the audience knows what you're going to present, and they can more easily follow it. You have to understand that people sit in a room for 2.5 hours and they listen to an average of 12 different papers. So it can be quite, invading and heavy on your brain. So try to guide them. Take your listeners by the hand so that they can follow you clearly. Also explain your methods. That is also important in research, that you explain how you have come to certain conclusions and results that you would like to share. And like the 1 minute per slide recommendations, the less is more is another excellent tip that you should burn into your brain, because really, as I said also at the beginning, even though you have lots to share and your research is by all means excellent, try to focus on a few points that you will share with your audience. You will not be able to share all of it, but it's much better to focus on a few salient points, and then that will make people curious to read your paper. So that is consider it as a marketing talk to engage people to read your full paper, and then use the visual aids as we said also at the beginning. Next slide, please. So here again, we have some more tips. So it is important that you are confident, that you show that you know your stuff, right? Do try not to be nervous. And again, there is the tip to practice and to practice and to practice, because the more you speak to yourself, and I used it to do that in the beginning, really stand in front of the mirror. We didn't have all the computer aids that we have now, but you can easily, as I said, also record yourself. But practice and see how you come across. If you know very well what you're going to share, it will come across as confident. We will also have a public speaking and presentation skills lab at the Congress itself on the Sunday at 4 o'clock. So this is also an excellent way to actually also to meet your fellow speakers, but to get some last of these tips on how to make it a success. As Arif also said earlier, find your room and find your screen well in advance of your session. Go the previous day if you haven't found it yet. The IAC is a big event with some, I don't know, thousands of people. I don't know how many registrations we already have. Maybe Annie knows, but it will be quite overwhelming. And so it's important that you know your way and that you do that in advance and not at the last moment, so that you arrive all sweaty in your session room. Watch also other speakers present. That is also a good practice method. So, some people have done this many times. Others are there for the first time. We are all willing to learn from each other and to share our experience. So do not hesitate to speak with other delegates, other participants, and see what it looks like from the room when others present, so that also you know how the lighting is, how the room reacts, and so on. You should, of course, have your slides technology ready and logistically ready. They should all work well. It may make sense to check if everything is uploaded all right. If you are showing a video or something that moves or whatever, check that it works. Because if you lose time, that you lose the time of your presentation, right? So you have those 12 minutes and use them and make sure that everything works beforehand. This has been said several times, but I will say it again. Please arrive 10 minutes before the session starts, so that you can also say hello to the chairs, go and present yourself so that they know you're there, and that they know who you are. That will also help to break the ice. Plan the dive and dive the plan. So don't drown, I would add, but so get prepared and then have a good swim. So we're going to the next slide. Thank you. And I'm going to Arif to have more tips even, and do's and don'ts. Arif, over to you.
Thank you, Tanya, very much. That's really fantastic information. I've been doing this for a long time, doing these presentations. I remember the first times I've done it when I wasn't very experienced. The only way I actually went through that, the early days, is through practice. So that's what I recommend. Mirror is a very useful tool, as Tanya said. That's really fantastic. One of the most important mistakes when you're doing a presentation, especially when there is a time pressure, is to talk too fast. Especially for a person like myself, who is not, English is not the first language. That's not a good idea. That's not a good idea for anyone, but especially for the people. English is the second language. Don't talk too quietly. Make sure that you emphasize the points that you want to make, and then show some confidence at the tone of your voice. And as I said, don't talk at a steady rate, state. Essentially, emphasize the things that you want to really underline. And no interaction is not a good thing. You really want to observe the audience. That's essentially how I get my energy when I talk. I actually look at people. I look at their gestures. I look at into their eyes if I can see them. So make sure that you have that eye contact. The audience wants that as well. They want the engagement so that they will listen to you for 10, 15 minutes. Don't read slides. That is a huge mistake. Don't make those slides too wordy, as Tanya said. That's very important. But also make sure that you put enough information. But for certain people actually are more visual in terms of their understanding things. Make sure you have enough information on the slides that at least they can read it and understand it. This is important. Movement. Sometimes I do that. I essentially run on the podium when I give presentations, which is not a good idea. You don't want to still stand still 100%, give enough energy, but don't make the audience follow you, okay? Emphasize on the things that you're saying. Do not emphasize with yourself with your emotions, okay? This is very, very important. Smile. This is important. Make sure that you show confidence. Make sure that people are essentially having fun as they listen to you. It may be a technical talk, but at the end of the day, what people will remember is essentially a good experience, because they will essentially study the paper later on. They will get the information, but what they get out of your presentation is essentially that good experience. That emotional touch is very important. Avoid comparing yourself to others as a speaker. Everybody has their own essentially style. Make sure that you have your own style. Do not essentially over criticize you in terms of, oh, this speaker is so great. How am I going to match up with him or her? Don't do that. Make sure you focus on your delivery. This is quite important. And the last item is very important: poor preparation. Preparation is important, especially if you don't have a lot of experience with these kind of talks. Make sure that you're prepared to talk, essentially, and then the timing is very important. Sometimes when you're going to give a 10-minute talk, that is much more difficult than giving a half an hour talk, right? Because you want to squeeze all the information, and practice is the most important thing. The first time I did a practice talk, I remember in the old days, it was more like essentially going, 15 minutes. I did the talk in 15 minutes. I reduced the time as I practiced more and more. Okay, you can look at the mirror like we did in the good old days. Okay, use the mirror, or you can record yourself and watch, which is a really fantastic thing to do. Practice breathing techniques, which I've never done, I have to confess, but people say that is a useful thing. You want to make sure that you're not rushing. When you make a statement, stop, and so that people can absorb the importance of what you've said. Okay, so that is quite important. Work on your posture. Make sure that you give enough self-confidence, because if you're not looking self-confident, people will not essentially believe in what you're telling them. So the body language is very important. Self-confidence is critical. Again, in the old days, we used to give our presentations in our research groups. Our advisors used to listen to us. That was very important, because advisors and our peers gave us fantastic tips. I learned a lot from those practices. I have to tell you, you should try that. Again, arriving early, meeting your chairman. This is quite important. We already discussed that. And then keep it simple, stupid. Presentation. It also works for presentations, not only engineering systems. Keeping it simple is important. In every presentation, there are only a few things that you really want to make sure that your audience has to remember within the next, 6 months to a year. Make sure you emphasize that, okay? They won't remember all the details, but they'll remember the important stuff. Make sure that you deliver that important message. Focus on that. Connect with your audience. We already discussed that. Have that emotional connection. Sometimes people do jokes, but I don't because if you're gonna do jokes, be very careful. Like this is very very difficult for an experienced person to essentially lighten that audience. Be professional, straight, but have that touch. That's my recommendation. Listen to others and practice active listening. Listening a lot of presentations, watching people present. Good presenter. That is a really good way of learning. Use the Microsoft Accessibility Checker to create accessible content. This is a fantastic tip, which I will use from now on, which I didn't use up to this point. Okay, the question session after the presentation is very important. And this is where you really show that you know your stuff. And this is where you essentially show that important messages can be given during Q&A because there may be parts that you may have missed. So that can be easily essentially delivered there. And then if you don't know anything, make sure that you state that. I'm not familiar with that concept. I don't know this yet. The research has to be completed to essentially give you a full answer. Make sure that be honest and essentially be straight with the audience. That actually is very, very helpful. Time limit, we discussed that. Make sure that you leave enough time for your conclusions. This is critical. Dress professionally. Obviously, don't go in with shorts and things like that. So make sure that people listen to you and take you essentially seriously. And practice. We have already discussed that, and Tanya emphasized that. So that is very critical. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arif. Wow, that's really an avalanche of tips and extremely useful. And of course, you can also rewatch this webinar and rewatch the slides afterwards if it is all a bit much. But first, I'm going to hand it over to Isaac Haglund, who is the lead project manager for IP sessions, and he's going to share some of his expert knowledge for you to really make the greatest IP presentation. Isaac, over to you. You can share your screen.
Thank you, Tanya, for that lovely introduction. Thank you, Arif and Annie and the lovely meetings teams over at IAF. Now, I will share my screen here and we will go into the technical aspects of creating a dynamic interactive IP as we gear up for IAC 2025 in Sydney. Everybody should be able to see my screen now. These are some snaps that we took from last year's IAC at Milan. As you can see, the setup, it won't be exactly the same as in Sydney, but excuse me, when the action starts, this is what it will look like. And you can see a bunch of engaging IP authors conducting engaging presentations in the IP session. So what is being shown on all of the screens here on site is one and the same, and that will be the 2025 IAC gallery. Now, there are a couple of ways to browse this page. I like using the drop-down menus up at the top. There are certain filtrations that you can use. Browse by country, browse by category. Browse by winners is something that we add the last day or after the IP ceremony. And then we can browse by screen, obviously. So let's browse by winners and let's highlight some really well-designed IPs so you guys can check out, what it takes to stand out. Remember, this is a visual medium. You don't want to be greeted with a wall of text. Now we have a very, very well-designed IP here, really utilizing the strengths of the system. We have different content boxes that we will tap on during our presentation to explore the content. We scroll with our finger, we tap on our images to blow them up to their full size, and we tap on them again to collapse. We tap anywhere in the background to go back, and we can tap on the middle content box to start the slideshow, and we can pause it and go and navigate at our own discretion. Click the back button in the bottom left-hand corner to go back to the gallery, and we can reset search and scroll down. So everybody or not everybody, I should say. The invitations have been sent out, but we're well aware that the second wave of authors will receive their letters of invitation this week. Everybody will also receive a letter of reminder this week. Now, this is what the letter of invitation looks like. It contains a bunch of useful information. You'll have a link to the webinar that we're conducting right now, a bunch of useful deadline dates and resources, but obviously what you want to take a look at is your individual username and password. With these copied and paste, we will go to the login page, we will punch in our details, and we will click submit. This is what we're greeted with here. Now, it contains a bunch of useful information, albeit this information is also available to you in the letter of invitation. So let's click the big green button. And these are the 6 different templates that we offer for this year's conference at IAC now, or Congress, I should say, excuse me. Now, we're well aware that the vast majority of IP authors will transfer content from an outside resource. You might have a Word document, a PDF, maybe a PowerPoint, a Keynote, or a Canva. So take a look at your layout. How many paragraphs of text do you have? How many different sections? And choose your template accordingly. Now, for this demo, let's choose a template with a slideshow functionality. Let's choose template number 5. And this is what you're greeted with. You will be greeted with more content because we preload as much as possible from the abstract system. So what I like to do first is I like to collapse this menu, and I like to sort of hammer out the layout. And by that, I mean filling out my content box titles. So for example, here we can do method intro, here we can do method, here we can do analysis, etc., etc. And I have gathered from my previous PowerPoint, I have gathered all of the multimedia that I know I want to use for my IP at Sydney. So for example, I have my text document here where I want to transfer my text, first of all. Now, to reiterate again, you don't want an IP with too much text. There's nothing more off-putting than being greeted with a wall of text when you open an IP. As we saw with the previous IP winners, there was not a lot of text. So keep that in mind. Now, you'll notice when we open a content box in editing mode, you're greeted with this toolbar. Now, I won't talk about the bottom row and I won't talk about the middle row. These are self-explanatory. If you know how to use Word, you know how to use these buttons right here. It's the top row that I will briefly touch on. And moving from left to right, up here at the top, we have Insert Image. You just click here. You drag and drop your image into this rectangular space. It will upload. You can add alt text if you'd like, and then you just click OK, and your image has been inserted. So let's say we want to add a video in our analysis content box. We'll insert a couple of line breaks here for good measure. We'll click Add Video, and we can upload a video here. And for the sake of time and brevity, I will not do that now. And we can also include a YouTube link or a Vimeo link here and embed in our IP. There are also a bunch of other things that you can do. You can add an MP3 file and take a look at our quick guides, our FAQs. Images, for example, need to be JPEG, PNG, or GIF. The audio files need to be MP3. But the video formats can be anything, really. You will be hard-pressed to find a file format for video that we do not accept. In the top left-hand corners and in the top right-hand corners, we have 300 times 300 pixel dedicated spots where you can add your author photos and institution logos. You can upload up to 8 apiece. So if you have 8 co-authors, you can also upload and make sure they're in the correct order. You can also upload 8 institution logos if your co-authors are from various institutions. In the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that we can make it a regular content box, or we can make it an image slider. So click on the image slider, upload all of your images. High resolution, 1920 times 1080 is always the best resolution. It will look very impressive in Sydney on the large touchscreens. So always use large high-resolution imagery. It looks really, really nice. So upload your images into here. For example, if you have a PowerPoint that you want to incorporate into your IP, you can save your slides. I know that PowerPoint allows you to save each slide as a JPEG. It will save in a folder on your desktop, and you can just upload them to your IP if you want to incorporate that. Then in the right-hand menu, let's just zip through these real quick. You have design your iPoster, or design your IP rather, where you can upload a background color with a fill. All of these has to do with personalization and customization to make your IP pop. And uploading a background image is quite popular as well. The green button, moving from top to bottom now in this right-hand menu, you have narration. You can record yourself live and direct, or you can upload an MP3 file. So because your IP will live on after the Congress, as we can see on this page right here, we highly encourage you to use narration. It will look really, really nice when you navigate to your IP and you can listen to you talk about your content, talk about your research without you having to be there, and you can follow along. Then we have video presentation, which is exactly the same as a narration, but you just use video instead. Author info, abstract disclosures and references. I won't go through these. This is self-explanatory. Book on-site screen. I know that this is not available yet. We will send out an email to everyone when this is available, and it will look like this. As previously touched on, everybody is in a different symposium, or maybe you're in the same symposium as your colleagues, and based on what symposium you're in, you will have different times and screens available to you, okay? So you will have freedom, but we will group symposiums together, which makes a lot of sense. So when that email is sent out, you know that you will be able to log in and select the time slot. Obviously, all of these times will be shown and booked in local Sydney time. So keep an eye out for that email. And then we have my settings where we send the main author the letter of invitation, right? And if you have co-authors that you want to invite, log in at least once and invite them here so that the system can send out a letter of invitation to those people. And they will log in and collaborate on your IP with their own login credentials. So before I wrap up my section, I just want to say one thing. Congratulations having your IP abstract submitted and approved. You will receive a letter of invitation or a letter of reminder this week. And remember, play around with the system, make mistakes. It all boils down to logging in, selecting the appropriate template, transferring your research, and click publish. No USB on site. Everything is online. Bring your laptop to Sydney, make last minute changes, upload a background image, use it as a visual medium, and adhere to the tips set forth by Annie, Arif, and Tanya. Follow the roadmap and you should be all good. Myself and Joe will be at the support desk by the screens. So the first day, come visit us, come rehearse. We'll take a picture of you by your screen in front of your IP, and it will be all good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isaac. And this is really amazing. This platform, it's the first time I hear this presentation myself, and I'm really impressed. You know, I remember the first times I went to the IAC. This is a long, long time ago. We were very hip if we had an overhead sheet. You know, we would write on it and put it on this machine. And look at this now, what you can do. It's really fantastic. So I think it's even almost more attractive than doing a technical session. Thank you so much. And I'm sure that this will be very useful. So this is concluding our presentation, but we have been receiving quite a lot of questions already in the Q&A, and so I'm happy to address those now. And I want to thank Stefano and Miriam back in Paris for moderating these and putting them in the chat. So first there was a question where the full paper, on which platform full papers will be available after the Congress. So as I mentioned, it's not an official journal, it's not a published paper publication, but it is also very modern. It is all online, and you will receive an email from IAF after the Congress to give you the link to where all these proceedings are. And as Annie also said, they are there forever. So this will be communicated to you after the Congress. Then there was a question about the format and how many authors can present. So here, look at the website and the restricted area where you access as an author, and all the manuscript templates, guidelines are there. As for presenting with several persons, we have indicated several times that your time is extremely limited. Sometimes people come and say, oh, we have 3 co-authors and we all want to speak. I mean, it's not prohibited, and I would definitely suggest not to have more than 2 speakers. And also, if you want to do that, be very smooth. Know that you know the other person is getting up immediately, and do inform your chairs if you want to do that as well, so that they know this in advance. But try to limit it as much as possible. Then there was a question about detailed guidelines for writing a paper, and so it's a bit the same question. They have the template already. The question is specifically also about the length of papers, which used to be 15 pages, and that will again indeed be the same thing. So again, we refer to the guidelines and template on the website for further details. Then there was a question for Isaac, when we can expect the login details. And I actually think that you mentioned that an email would be sent this week, isn't it, Isaac?
That is correct, Tanya. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. So newly added IPs will receive the credentials in the coming days, so don't worry. And if any problem, you can always email that support email address that we shared in previous slides. Then somebody asked about lab-oriented results. Can we share that in our manuscript, and how is that usually done by researchers at IAC Manuscript? And so this person is a first-time presenter. Very welcome. We're very happy to have you. And of course, you're very welcome to share your lab results and to give advice based on your experience, where I'm sure that your audience will be happy to hear about your lab tests. Then the booking system. So I think that for the IPs, I think Isaac mentioned that as well. It will go live in the beginning of July, so that is in a next week or so. And so then you can start to book those slots. I was wondering, Isaac, can everybody book 1 slot, or can you book more slots? Is it first come, first serve? How does that?
Thank you, Tanya. That's a great question. It's a first come, first serve. You're only allowed to book 1 slot at a time. After you have concluded your presentation, there will be, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe on Friday there will be a couple of blocks that is open to everybody that you can book. So
Okay.
keep an eye out for that as well.
Yeah, so it makes sense to go there once to book your initial slot, but to also look again if there's any additional ones that you want to use. Very good. Thanks a lot. Then somebody asked if they can bring a prototype. Yes, of course. We said use visuals, so that means visuals on your screen. But if you can actually bring some hardware or a prototype, fantastic. Show it to your audience, and it will only engage them more. Of course, be careful with your travel, that you are actually allowed to bring it, or that it doesn't get lost or broken. But fantastic, if you have something to show, please do. Then there was a question about the length of the oral presentations, and we've mentioned, I'm aware, several different minutes, 10, 12, 15, and somebody asked, oh, but I've been given 20, how does it work? So please follow what you have been communicated by in your letter of acceptance, because the chairs actually are free when they do the selection to allocate the time to the papers. So it depends on how many papers are in the session. Sometimes there is a paper that has been designated as a keynote, so they get slightly longer. So it is not a fixed time for every paper in every symposium, in every session, but please follow whatever is in your letter, and then that will be what you can count on. And do remember, however, also that the Q&A is included in that. So leave a couple of minutes to have some questions, because it's always nice. I often actually prefer the Q&A because that is the lively interaction, and then also you can find out perhaps what was not clear or what people want to know more about. Then there was a question about the availability of this video, and yes, of course, it will be available on YouTube, on the IAF YouTube channel, so you can rewatch everything. So feel free to do that after we upload it there. In oral presentations, is it accepted practice to engage the audience with a brief audience question or poll to emphasize a point? Well, this sometimes happens, and you can ask maybe for a raise of hand or do a quick poll. It could be done, but again, I have to emphasize that you have very limited time. So it is up to you. It may mean that you have less content to pass on to, but on the other hand, it can be a way to make it lively. And if you can do it quickly without losing too much time, you could, but do consider that time, and it may not be completely feasible. And then another question for Isaac about editing the interactive presentation in order to be able to book a time slot, or can you do that only if you logged in? Meaning, does your presentation have to be all ready, or can you do it before your presentation is finished?
Thank you. That's a great question. This year, as opposed to previous years, dating back all the way to 2019, we will be cracking down on booking a time and publishing IPs with no content. You must have content to publish. You must have content to book a time. So we will send out a letter of reminder about this, but we will be cracking down on it. So make sure that your IP has content in order to book and publish. Thanks.
Very clear. Thank you so much. Well, that brings us to the end of a lot of questions. Thank you very much for engaging with us and for asking us to clarify certain points. We really hope that this has been helpful, and I would like to thank my fellow panelists, Dr. Annie Handmer, Professor Arif Karagioglu, and Isaac for the IP presentations. I am greatly looking forward to traveling to Sydney. I've booked my ticket, I've registered for the Congress. I hope you all have too, and we really look forward to welcome you all in Sydney in a few weeks now. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you again for IAF for facilitating us with the platform, and good luck in preparing your presentations. Thank you.